I'd like to welcome Jamil Zabaneh from J&L Marketing to the show. Jamil, why don't you tell us a little bit about J&L Marketing and what you guys do?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thanks for having us on, Paul. J&L Marketing, we've been in the automotive vertical and been in business for over 30 years now. We started as a marketing agency that was focused primarily on the traditional side, where we did a lot of promotions and events for dealerships on site, whether that was sales events or service events. And in the last 10 years, we have grown our digital business, where now digital makes up over 80 to 90% of our overall business as a company. Our owner, Scott Joseph, is the J in the J&L. He owns 3 dealerships himself, which is always great because we get to hear from the agency world, and we get to be able to go and test and measure at the individual dealership level. Outside of the automotive vertical, we do digital marketing in the agriculture industry, the construction industry, foods and condiments. We actually work with the fastest growing hot sauce in the United States called Melinda's. We do all of their paid search, display, and social advertising, as well as insurance companies, attorneys, lawyers, plumbing, home services. So we've grown definitely a lot over the last 30 years.
Well, that's quite the portfolio. And what appeals to me about any company that's doing business in the automotive space is understanding the culture, the language, and the people. And certainly with owning 3 dealerships, you speak the language. So it's almost like you have your own incubator for all of the things that you do, and you're able to gauge successes and where you need to make adjustments, because you're actual dealers. You're not somebody that's reading about it or trying to learn about it. Scott's been in this business, I think, at least J&L Marketing 30 and automotive before then.
Correct.
So, ours is an interesting business, and it's got its own culture, and that's certainly helpful. Now, today, probably one of the biggest challenges is inventory. So yeah, we'll get to the sales marketing in just a moment, but the focus, or refocus, I should say, because those sharp dealers that have always been doing it have been seeing success on the fixed op side. But there's a lot of stores now that kind of have to shift focus, since most of the general managers and dealer principals that are coming up through the ranks came up through the variable side. To kind of make fixed ops your number one priority isn't easy for everybody. So in light of the fact that where there's more of a focus on fixed ops, what are some of the things that you guys are doing in that space to generate more business for the dealers?
Great question. So what I always tell my friends, Paul, is the automotive vertical in some areas is the most progressive, and in other areas it's the least progressive. So let's just look at a dealership in general and advertising. On the sales side, general managers will take a lot of risk in terms of what they're doing on the advertising side. They were one of the first industries that really jumped into digital marketing very before results were even really known. But then you look at the service side, most dealerships that you talk to, and you talk to the service director, service manager, and you say, what are you doing digitally on the service side to drive new customers into your business or to drive inactive customers? And the strategies that they use, Paul, are the same strategies they used 10 or 15 years ago. Well, Jamil, we do a service reminder program through direct mail. And when they hit certain intervals, we send out the direct mail. And then on a quarterly basis, Jamil, we send out an email blast to anybody we haven't seen that's inactive. Or we have a phone campaign that we do on a monthly basis where we call people that maybe unsold follow-up. And, I've been doing this at J&L for 13 years. These are the same strategies that I heard 13 years ago. And honestly, the independents have blown dealerships by. I had the pleasure, Paul, one of our partners is one of the largest oil companies in the world, and they own a national quick lube center. They have more locations nationwide than anybody. And 4 years ago, I sat in their marketing meeting, and 75% of their budget was spent specifically in paid search.
Wow. Now, if I can jump in here for a second. To your point moments earlier about dealers are doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, you know, I received an email from a dealership that I love, okay? And they're using a big national company, but it was a reminder to have my 40,000 mile service done, okay, that I'm overdue for my 40,000 mile service. Now, mind you, I've been servicing with this dealership since I bought the car in 2018. The last time I was there was, I think, around January to have my 66,000 mile service done. So the next service I'm due for, probably before the end of the year, if I don't stretch it till January, is my 72,000 mile service. However, their marketing money is spent on a company that's sending me a reminder for something I already had done quite some time ago. So I totally get where you're coming from. You know, ours used to be a business where we would just jump in and we discover new tools, and with no ROI guarantees, without even knowing all of what it did, we would jump in and spend tens of thousands of dollars to dominate our market. Now it's kind of taken the backseat approach to let's keep calling the people that aren't coming to us. Well, there's a reason why they're not coming, right?
That you're 100% right. And so a lot of times dealerships will talk about, you know, how car gurus became so successful. So as you know, AutoTrader, Cars.com at one point were a lot bigger than car gurus. Well, AutoTrader and Cars.com spent a lot of their money on Super Bowl ads, big television commercials, and gurus went specifically to digital marketing. They said, well, when somebody's in market for a 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee, we want to be there at the point of intent, which is if they're searching for it. And they got very sophisticated and did a great job of owning SEM. And I think that's what dealerships are really missing. And a lot of it's because there hasn't been a lot of emphasis from the vendors and the agencies. J&L was guilty of this when we rolled out our digital marketing across paid search, display, and social. A lot of the emphasis 8-9 years ago was all on the front side of the house because that's where the money was. That's where the dealerships were spending. And then when a dealership would say, well, I want to throw a few hundred extra bucks at service, it would be, okay, well, we'll create a service campaign in Google Ads and we'll bid on certain keywords around service, maybe your dealership with the word service, your OEM with the word service, and then we'll just direct them to the service homepage. And it wasn't until about 4 to 5 years ago did our company really decide, hey, there's a huge opportunity. Dealerships could, with a very low amount of spend, can have exponential results on the service side. And one of the reasons being is you don't have to spend a lot digitally to get great results. Unlike the car buying process, Paul, where somebody's in market for 3.5 months, according to Google, they're going back to Google and they're searching continuously over and over, and they're doing a ton of research. Well, when somebody's searching for a Honda oil change, they're not going to do that for 3.5 months. Right. They're doing it because probably that day or within the next week or so, they want to get their oil change done. So the average dealers that we work with are maybe spending $1,000 to $2,000 in total ad spend, and they're seeing 60, 70 phone calls, 30 scheduled appointments from their online scheduler, and the results have just been fantastic.
You know, it's something that you said earlier, let's throw a few $100s at service, right? It's almost as if it's an afterthought. I've walked into so many service departments across the country, and I'll ask the GM, hey, how much have you allocated to your variable ops marketing? And they'll be able to quote me the number, usually within a few dollars. Yet when I ask the same question regarding it, well, how much have you allocated towards fixed ops marketing? And I'll have silence, or I'll have that look where they're trying to come up with a number. Generally, it's very small. So there's really no no secret to why, if I'm standing in that dealership's parking lot and I'm doing a search for whether it be oil change near me or brake service near me or battery service or tire service near me, it rarely, I don't even actually remember one time that it directed me to the dealer's parking lot where I was standing doing that search from. It usually directed me down the street to one of the guys you represent, one of these big chains.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest problem is, and kind of break it down to even 2 or 3 different problems, is on the service side, digitally speaking, most service directors kind of lack the knowledge to be able to build out a true digital marketing campaign that produces results. So I'll give you 3 or 4 reasons or justifications of that. Number one, unlike on the sales side, on the service side, we have to target same brand owners. So if you own a Honda store, I know you want to get Toyota customers in, Nissan customers, and so on. But ideally, to make your ROI be cost effective, we really want to go after Honda owners and bring them into our Honda dealership. That's very different than on the sales side. Is we just want to bring anybody in that might potentially buy a Honda. Okay, we don't really care what they currently own. So you got to have what we call as a defend and attack strategy. You have to be able to use your DMS. If you're willing to pay 70 cents a mail piece, or some dealers are paying $1, $1.50, you shouldn't be, but if you're willing to pay that to send out a direct mail, and that's one impression, you want to use that valuable asset, which is your DMS, and use it digitally. Use it for Facebook, use it for Instagram, use it for display, and even use it for paid search.
You guys do some neat stuff with that, because I've had the pleasure and good fortune to have had this conversation with Scott over some time. So you do great stuff with that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's the same methodology that a dealer has for direct mail or email marketing for display and social. Let's pull your DMS. Let's identify who are the inactive customers, who are the people that you want to get an ad in front of, and we upload that audience, and we can serve Facebook, Instagram ads to them, display ads to them. And what the beautiful thing about it, I was just having a conversation earlier today, one impression's a fraction of a cent.
Right.
So our average cost per 1,000 impressions, 1,000 impressions is like $3 to $5. So it's much more cost effective than a 70, 80 cent direct mail piece.
Now hold on a second. Mm-hmm. It's 70, 80 cents or more per piece. Now here's where the beauty comes in. I've known a couple of dealers to have name file issues in their DMS because maybe they don't see the value in a cleanse or a scrub. So maybe they're sending 3 pieces of mail times that 70, 80 cents or more per piece to the same household with different names to a person that maybe doesn't even own that car anymore or doesn't even live at that address.
No, you're 100% correct. And a dealer should not be working with a direct mail vendor that obviously, for 30 years, we've been doing basic data cleanup, NCOA, removing duplicate address, duplicate records, and so on. But every direct mail vendor for service should have a relationship with an Experian and IHS that you can do VIN transfer data on. You should never send out a service-related marketing direct mail piece as it hasn't been scrubbed to ensure that that owner still owns the vehicle. We are partnered with IHS. They charge us per record, but they'll flag if that consumer still currently owns the vehicle. And the way they do it is they look at the last record or last transaction, service or sales. So when you upload the file to them, you have to upload the last transaction. And then they look to see, has the VIN transferred ownership since then? So if it has, then obviously that means that customer has gotten rid of that vehicle. It's a must. When we do that, even when we stay inside of like 3 years, about 22 to 25% of the list is bad names. It's people that no longer own it. So if you're not doing it, you're wasting 22% of your money at least.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And then lookalike audiences, things like that. is another benefit to what you guys do in utilizing the dealer's own DMS data.
Absolutely. So a lot of dealerships will say, well, Jamil, the defend audience or the people, I already do a good job with them, right? But if you look at the ad spend, let's take $1,500, the defend list or the previous customers maybe makes up a couple $100 of it. The majority of what's beautiful about digital marketing, and it's why all the independents are doing it, is it's the best tool to gain new customers. It is the best tool. Every dealership gets a report from their manufacturer that shows them, okay, there's this many Toyotas in my area of influence or in my PMA. But Toyota never gives them that data. Neither does Honda, neither does BMW. And dealers, you can go out and buy a list and then do costly direct mail. We do direct mail, so there's nothing against it. But if you're looking for conquest, that is not the best solution in terms of ROI. Instead, it's easier to pick up these people in the moment of intent. So i.e. paid search. If it's someone that's not in your database, and we're going to be uploading the database to paid search, so we're going to know it's somebody not in your database. If they're searching for a Honda service, Honda oil change, that's your opportunity to potentially present a good ad in front of them and win that customer back. And there's a lot of ways to also go after people on display and Facebook that are known Honda owners, whether it's through custom intent, people that searched, or competitor URL targeting, or if it's in-market data using affinity audiences.
Now, I like what you said regarding the two approaches. The one approach is kind of stay in your lane as far as doing your service marketing. So if somebody owns a Honda, you want to target Honda oil change and things like that, because it's very difficult. Conquesting service is extremely difficult. A person that owns a Toyota or a Chrysler is less likely to be moved to want to service that vehicle at a Honda dealership. No disrespect against Honda. I think it's one of the better cars out there today. But the reality of marketing is that they're not necessarily going to think of you to bring their off-brand to. So by focusing on or staying in your lane, as my good friend Ty Thompson says, you're getting better results to get people in your door. And here's where the true partnership between vendor, partner, and dealer comes in. Because when those people respond to your messaging and they come into your service department, that is where the rubber meets the road, or ZMOT, zero moment truth. You are able to create a consumer experience for that customer right then and there on the service side that will determine whether or not they come back to you. If it's a great experience, not only will they come back, but because so many other people are lacking in customer service, they will be a good source of referral to go after some of that conquest business by proxy. Because if I go to my Subaru dealer because I'm happy there, I'm going to tell all my friends, even the ones that don't own Subarus, what a great experience I have. I drive an hour one way to go there and another hour back, and I wait usually to have the work done. That's how much I respect and trust them. Then I'm going to help them get conquest business. And to the part about on the sales side, targeting intent, hey, those are the people that are raising their hand saying, this is what I'm looking for. It's like you're looking over their shoulder at what they're doing and then interjecting at the right time. So I love your approach.
Awesome. Yeah. And then, so, I mean, there's agencies out there that do search, display, social for service, but they don't put it all together. And what I mean by that is this. Dealerships do a fantastic job managing their website on the sales side. They have inventory feeds from Viato, HomeNet, pricing is updated, vehicle imagery is typically updated. There's a search feature. If I want to look at a Jeep Grand Cherokee, I can press new inventory, do a search, and drill down to all the Jeep Grand Cherokees. So as advertisers on the sales side, it makes it very easy for us to determine where are we going to take this traffic. If I'm doing an ad for a Jeep Grand Cherokee brand new, I'm going to take them to the filtered page of the new Grand Cherokee. if I'm taking him for the Ram 1500, I'm going to take him to the Ram 1500. A lot of dealerships have pages even built out for models that have SEO value. But on the service side, there's hardly any of that time goes into it on the service pages. And it's a huge issue because let's say we have a dealer that's now says, Jamil, you're right. I need to spend more money digitally on search, display, and social. Let's run up some ads. Well, the ads are only as good as the pages you take them to. So
Right.
what we've done at J&L is we have taken over all of the service pages for the dealership and taken that off of their lap because it's one thing that they don't want to handle. We don't do it on the sales side because it's not necessary.
Right.
But on the service side, what that means is that the dealership gives us 5 offers that month that he wants to do, right? He wants to do 5 service specials. Let's say he wants to do an alignment, a tire, an oil, a general service, and maybe a battery. We build out pages for each one of those offers. So it helps us, one, on his organic side and his SEO, but then number 2, it helps us on our paid side, Paul, because the reality is if we're driving people to pages that are not relevant, they clicked on an oil change ad and we take them to the service scheduler, which a lot of dealers are doing right now and probably don't even realize it. No, we want to take them to the oil change page that has the oil change offer that they saw in the ad and make it easy for them to then schedule their appointment, but to also either text, email, print, Google Pay, Apple Wallet, and share that offer out. So we build out all the landing pages per offer as well as a general service page that the dealership can use organically. And we've just had a lot of positive feedback on that because it makes it easier for the service director. He just sends us one email or it's one conversation. Here's what I'm thinking. And we do everything from the ad creation all the way down to the landing pages inside of 48 hours.
Well, the relevancy part is key because you're right. I have seen a lot of websites where I go on and I have to ask myself, are these folks even in the service business? Because there's nothing that would indicate that they are. Or if I respond to something, the word clickbait is there for a reason. People get frustrated if I'm clicking on what I think is something relevant to what you pulled me in for. I want to at least know that I'm going to that appropriate page and maybe I'm gaining some more knowledge through education from the dealer to me on the piece that I responded to, as opposed to just being dropped off to, it's like a train station, right? If I say I'm in Grand Central and I want to go to Philadelphia. Now, I'd rather click on it and go to the gate that takes me to Philadelphia than to be dropped off outside on 42nd Street of the train station and have no idea where I'm going. The trust factor goes down.
You're so right, Paul. If you gave me 100 dealerships right now and we audited them, over half of them would be in these 3 categories. If you press service specials, it would then say, sorry, we have no service specials going on right now.
Right.
Number 2, it would be expired offers because in the automotive world, on the sales side, we know incentives come out between the 1st and the 5th, and we're ready to change that over on the side with the GM's involved. But there's not that thought process on the service side. Oh, wait, the offers that we had 2 months ago are now expired.
Yeah.
Number 3 would be the imagery or the service offers are not reflective of the time of the period of the year or the month. I've seen cars going through snow on the service specials in the middle of July in Georgia. So those are going to be the 3 challenges. And then number 4 is even if they do have an updated page, they didn't communicate to their agency that they're working with that these are the new offers. So they're advertising the old offers, which is creating bounce rates, higher CPCs, low and more cost in the long run in terms of a quality score standpoint.
And on top of that, Google rewards you because your relevancy score goes up because you're taking people to a place where they've asked or responded to go to. So that's great stuff. Now, I understand you guys are also doing some stuff in the recall space regarding generating more business.
Absolutely. So we do digital marketing on the recall side. So if a customer of ours is doing digital with us and they want to upload their recall list, We can build a landing page for recall. We can do one-to-one targeting, and we can alert the customer as well as text messaging. But what some of our dealerships have been working with us on, and they've seen great success with it, and it's been some of the hardest recalls. We did a national campaign with BMW where we've done over 150 of these, where we did the PCV blower, we did the Takata airbags. I mean, these are 82% of the list was over 10 years old customers. And we do recall service events. And they've actually gone fantastic, Paul. For every 1,000 customers that we market to, on the day of the event, I want to be very specific, on the day or days of the event, we're seeing anywhere between 40 to 60 people come in directly off of our marketing. So we handle the direct mail, the email, the phone calling of the customers, the ringless voicemails, the text messaging, driving them in. And I'd say the day of, agencies, Paul, as you are well aware, they're famous for showing reports and pulling it over a 60-day window and saying, oh, well, we got 130 people. When I talk about our event marketing, a lot of times it's specific to the day, because we know if we advertise that day and they went through our call center, they came through our marketing, we know that our marketing was the reason why they came in.
Yeah, no, that's a great source of business, because if you're contacting me on a recall that affects the safety and or performance of my vehicle, as a consumer, I'm thinking I'm going in for a free repair, which the dealer now has the ability to earn that customer's trust. And more often than not, there's significant additional revenue to be made on these recall programs, because the first offer starts with an olive branch of fixing something for you for free, because it's covered by the OEM. So if I do a great job as a dealership, then should I find something in my multi-point inspection, as a customer, I think I'd be more likely to want to do that while the vehicle's in. I mean, you've showed me a good, I show you a good back by going ahead and having some of that work done. So those live events are key to generating business. And I want to just touch a little bit on the sales side of it, because although there may not be a lot of inventory for dealers to choose from, there are a lot of cars on the road. And what I'm seeing successful dealers do is kind of formulate a strategy through companies like yours on how to acquire some of that elusive inventory directly from the consumer. Maybe you could touch on some of that.
Absolutely. So a lot of dealerships that we're working with are having a lot of success, digitally speaking, acquiring cars. But the biggest challenge that I see with most dealerships that I talk to, that I jump on the phone with, is they don't really know, even today, where their money's going. And I want to be specific on this. If I call a GM and he gets his e-commerce director in the room, right, and we're doing a video conference, and I say, okay, your budget currently on ad spend is $10,000. Where is that money going? If they know, their response is, well, 5,000 of it's going to search, 2,500 of it's going to display, and then 2,500 is going to Facebook and Instagram. And I say, okay, I know the channel. That doesn't really help me out that much. Where is your $10,000 going? And what I mean by that is this: how much of your $10,000 is going towards acquiring vehicles, getting vehicles? How much of your $10,000 is to promote used inventory? So your dynamic VIN-specific campaigns on the paid search side or on the display in Facebook and Instagram. How much of that $10,000 is going specifically to keywords on service or display ads and Facebook ads to service? How much of your $10,000 is just to promote your dealership, right? Whether it's about what you guys offer, maybe it's an ad that shows maybe some testimonials, maybe it's general keywords around the brand that doesn't necessarily indicate that it's a new customer or a used customer or service. I have yet to get on a call where someone can give me those numbers. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is especially right now during inventory shortage, is most agencies are not having those conversations. And as a result, they're spending silly amount of money on new car inventory when they don't need to right now because it's going to sell itself. What they need to do is rebalance their portfolio, putting more money in service, putting more money on used, putting more money in branding your dealership as a place that buys vehicles. For 30 years, 40 years, Paul, we've all gone to the high school games, the middle school games. We've seen the big billboards from dealerships that says best place to buy a car. It was never branded the best place to sell your car,
right,
or to trade in your car. So this is the opportunity for dealerships, Paul, to rebrand themselves. Now, it's harder now because everybody's doing it, Paul. It's a little self-serving.
I wouldn't say everybody, but a lot of the smart ones are.
Correct. So the dealership really needs to spend that amount of money, rebrand himself, and it can't be $200 or $300, right? It's got to be look at that $10,000 budget. Look at that $5,000 budget and say, okay, I don't need much help on new. I'm pre-selling most of my stuff already.
Exactly.
Let's take that money and spend it in areas of my business where I need help. So I feel like that's one thing that we do better than anybody is we take the frustration out of marketing by helping dealerships outsmart the competition. So we talk to them about, well, how much do we want to spend on previous customers versus new customers? Because we're using that customer data just like on service. How much do we want to spend on dealership, new, used, service, buyback opportunities or buying vehicles? We break it out. The channels are just the channels. That's going to fluctuate every month. I mean, a dealer, does it really matter if you spend $2,500 or $2,000 in Facebook and then you spend an extra $500 or less in display? No. What you're measuring is how many leads did I get that month for $10,000?
Yeah.
Good agencies should be fluctuating that number around every month like a financial portfolio.
Yeah. There's no one-size-fits-all approach in the success of this game.
Absolutely. Like I've heard dealerships say to me on the service side, well, I do search. So when you do financial investing and you sit down with your advisor, do you tell them you just want to buy tech stocks? No, you want to have a balanced portfolio. Yeah. So it's the same thing in digital marketing. Take your $5,000 and space it out. And then depending on your results and your initiatives, move that money around. Yeah, because for, as much as I love paid search, it's not the best channel for used cars. It's just not. Facebook and Instagram is going to produce dollar for dollar cost per lead better than search. Now for new cars, it's going to produce better. So you have to know that information before you set budgets by channel.
And the reason you guys know it is because you've been in the space at J&L Marketing for 30 plus years. So Jamil, thank you very much. You've shared some great information here. I appreciate you being on.
Thank you, Paul.